Hello and welcome to the JCN Clinic Podcast show. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Rochelle.
And yes, that is the lovely Rochelle with me today from the JCN Clinic. And we are going to be talking about the next steps for gut symptoms when your GP has no answers. And we're pretty excited to talk about this. It might sound a little bit, a little bit controversial maybe, but essentially the reason why this is so important to us is this is a huge demographic of what we see at the clinic. Like, this is a huge part of the pie of clients that come in and see us. So we thought it would be really great to offer you some solutions when you're presented with nowhere to go. So that's going to be our topic.
I am excited. You can tell.
Rochelle is excited.
I actually love this topic. And quite recently, I have had quite a few, like not even clients, like just quite a few people that have spoken to me external to the clinic and asked me this exact question. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually a really great topic. It's a really great topic. So yeah.
So yeah, as I was just saying, essentially with the JCN Clinic, we do specialize in a lot of chronic gut health conditions. It really is a big component of what we've built the JCN Clinic around. And I think for this reason, that is the component as to why we see so many of these types of situations. So I guess to give it background, a lot of people or clients are going to their doctors and they're experiencing all types of gut issues, all types of gut symptoms. And not to throw shade at any GPs or specialists, they are doing everything within their power, with everything within their routine testing, often blood work, and then potentially some basic stool testing, and then potentially referrals to specialists, depending, which may be someone like a gastroenterologist. And then a lot of the time those clients are then undergoing a colonoscopy or an endoscopy, and that's all great. But a lot of that then comes back clear, which is good because we want to have all of that ruled out. We want to know that there's nothing insidious going on. But once that's all clear, there's a big question mark left as far as, well, no one's got any answers. What do we do next? So this is where often we come in. So yeah, did you want to speak a little bit to that, Ro, as far as like what you see with clients in that space?
Yes, for sure. And look, I can be brutally honest with you that this was me. This is me.
Yeah, true.
Like back in the height of my gut symptoms. Where I had been back and forth from the GP, I'd been referred to a gastroenterologist, I had the endoscopy, the colonoscopy done, and everything came back clear. And I'll never forget like that, back to the doctors after everything came back clear on the colonoscopy. And yes, you're so happy that nothing has come back, but you're also in this state of like, what is next? Like, what is the next step for me here? And I remember talking to my doctor at the time, and the doctor saying to me, well, we can do a low FODMAP diet. And I was like, well, I've already done that. And it didn't really help. If anything, it made my symptoms worse. And now I'm eating less food. And the next step for me was, there is no next step. I was like, but all right, okay, thanks for that. And you just walk out and you go, well, actually, what do I do now? Like, where do I go? What do I do? And thankfully, I sort of did my research and I actually found a nutritionist and a naturopath that I worked alongside at the time. And that was really helpful for me. So that's why I'm probably so passionate about this topic, because I was that person 20 odd years ago, which is showing my little bit about my age. I'm not going to tell you my precise age. But I think like in clinic, we do see a lot of clients that do come to us because we are their last hope. It's like, I've done the medical model, I've been to the doctor, I've been to the specialist, we've ruled out anything more sinister. But now where do we go from here? And so that's when, generally speaking, we have the client sitting across from us. And so this is where having an initial consultation with us for that hour and a half is so valuable, because doctors and specialists don't have that time to spend with clients. So, and what we know to be true about the gut as well is that you actually need to go back. You need to go through history. Like you need to go back through time. And you need to understand, even from birth sometimes, like where the patterns are, and become a bit of a detective in terms of like trying to piece together what could have started some of these symptoms, or also, you know, what was there and this is such an interesting question, and sometimes there is a light bulb that like happens with my clients when I ask this question. It's like, all right, so tell me, like, was there a time, did something happen in your timeline over this like history where your gut has never been the same again? Such a powerful question, because a lot of the time clients can actually pinpoint our time, like where their gut has never been the same since that time. And like the obvious ones are travel, right? Like they go overseas and they catch something and they have never felt well since. That's an obvious one. But sometimes it's not that obvious. Like I remember looking back through my timeline, and I noticed like really high tides of stress when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, when I was like an adult, where like my gut symptoms flared, and they flared really significantly. And I actually put that high stress pattern when I was doing my timeline and going, oh, wow, that's really significant. I never even thought of that until I saw it in front of me in a timeline and went, oh, wow, that is so true. Really significant. Yeah. So because we have more time, an hour and a half, it's not enough sometimes.
Oh God, no.
Oh my gosh. Like initial consultation, I'm like, we've got a whole hour and a half together, and then I'm looking at the time and I'm going, oh, 6 minutes.
So true.
But because we have that time to be able to go through the case in detail and really, really talk through, you know, key areas and points in time, it does give us a better understanding of what might have driven the symptoms, or what could potentially be causing the symptoms in the first place. So I suppose that's like the first thing that I recognize in terms of the difference between how we see clients and how the medical model is set up in terms of like short, sharp consultations, you know, 10, 15 minutes to kind of like get the lay of the land and then come up with a solution. Whereas for ourselves, it's more, oh no, we're actually going to spend a lot of time talking through your history, and then also talking through the body systems that are relevant for the gut. So the nervous system, what's happening with your immune system, what's going on with your hormones, like all of the things. And then we can sort of come up with, you know, next steps in terms of, and for us, you know, functional testing is a really big piece of that puzzle too. And I know we're going to talk about that
exactly
today.
Yeah, that's really fascinating, highlighting that difference between what someone gets with that GP time versus time with us or a clinical nutritionist.
For sure.
And it's something that I don't think that probably the average person doesn't think about, like as far as like how much deeper we go in that consultation process, and then what that allows us to uncover. And again, it's unfortunately, it's no shade again to the GP system. It's just the way that it's set up, like as far as the time that they have, and they don't have that time to go into those deeper, more complex questions. And it's not part of their, I guess it's not part of their training model as well. Whereas for us, it's crucial. And I love also how you're highlighting about that time that we spend, but also the questions we ask, and that key question about like, when did this start for you? Like, was there a time when this became more of a problem? Like, and even though to us it seems like such a logical question as a practitioner, it's amazing how many people, and even I'm sure there's hopefully some listeners who are thinking that themselves today, people don't often even consider that. Like we do have those clients that will come to us and say, oh, I've never felt well since this happened, and they can pinpoint it. But there's a huge percentage that have never thought about that timeline. And I know in that process, I'm always careful to explain to clients like why we're doing this
Yes.
backwards deep dive
Yes.
into this history, because I think sometimes when you've got, it's like maybe I think about it seeing a psychologist in that you're there and you've got this problem and they're like, tell me about your childhood. And you're like, why do you want to tell me about my childhood? It's just like, we're like going backwards to all this stuff. And they're like, why are they asking me this stuff? I'm like, I'm here for this thing now.
Yeah.
It's just such a crucial component to case taking. And we have that time and we dedicate that time. And I just think it's hilarious too, because I'm the same, and like we've got like a full 90 minutes together today, and then you're just like, holy crap, we're getting really close, and I've got so much more. Because once you start digging and uncovering, like you're drawing this spider web together, and joining all these dots, and like, sometimes you go down some rabbit holes and you're like, holy moly.
For sure.
But yeah, it's definitely that first component. And then moving on from there, I think another area that we are able to then offer, as you alluded to, is that deeper exploration into the microbiome. So some GPs now and specialists are starting to utilize the Microba testing. We are seeing that. But I would also say that to date, I haven't seen, I'm just going to say it, I don't care, this is one of these podcasts, I haven't seen those results utilized effectively. They've done the testing, which is wonderful, but I don't think that there is that understanding and knowledge and context about like the complexities of the microbiome to treat it accordingly. So we do have those clients that come to us and they've had testing with their GP or their gastroenterologist, and it is a microbiome test, but unfortunately the right strategies haven't been put into place. But that's newer, so it's great that it's starting to happen. But the majority of people that we see have, if they have had any testing done, it's just a basic parasitology where they're just looking for overt pathogens, and that's it. And then potentially a calprotectin to look for inflammation. For us, and this is where a huge component of like where we can offer so much more comes in, when you have all of those, like you did, Ro, all those years ago, like, no, sorry, no issues here. This is all fine. This is where we find the information where clients are finally getting answers and not just the like, yep, there's nothing there. So do you want to speak to what that is and what we do there?
Wow. Yeah, sure. So in terms of what I love about the Microba stool analysis, is it does give us so much more information than just a basic parasitology and just, inflammatory markers. So it really gives us, and I say this to clients, like the lay of the land, right? In terms of, so there are a couple of different sections. There's a couple that I vibe off and I love the most. And I'll always tell my clients this, like, I just like absolutely adore some of the components of the report. So, first of all, it actually will provide us with information about like the metabolites that your bacteria are producing. So that can be such an important piece of the puzzle when you're understanding why the symptoms are occurring. And it's something that is relatively new in the stool analysis testing world, in terms of like, we didn't have it before the Microba testing, did we? Like, it wasn't something that we were able to pull from a stool analysis. But I'll be honest with you, in terms of what I see with my clients, it has been the game changer for me in terms of being able to really come up with a calculated and solid plan in terms of like what could potentially be causing or driving those symptoms, and then actually being able to support reducing some of those metabolites if we need to, or increasing some of those metabolites if we need to as well. So that's like probably my most favorite part of the testing, because like it really does show clients oh, like those symptoms, like those bloating symptoms, or those, overt gas symptoms that you're getting, like, well, you've got, some bacteria that are producing these, gases. And so maybe that could be a piece of the puzzle, and it's, it's, there's so much more information. That's just one thing that I picked out because it's my ultimate favorite. But the other thing that we get, and this is probably my second favorite, is the diversity and the richness scores, which are just incredible. And, and I know, Jess, we were talking over the weekend about a couple of things, but you can't guess those scores. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there are some clients where we talk through their diet, and there's some clients where, I'm talking about symptoms and, the chronic nature of their case. And I go, and you kind of like start to get a picture of what their microbial environment might look like. And then I get the testing back, and it's the polar opposite to what I thought it was going to be. Isn't it like amazing? But in terms of the diversity and the richness score, so it tells us a little bit more about like long-term or like health outcomes for your gut. So the richness and the diversity is not something that I can, give you a supplement today and tomorrow your score is going to improve exponentially. Like, that would be super cool. But like the Jetsons, I've always wanted to like have that food thing that the Jetsons. Anyway, I digress. Like, it's like, oh, here's my Microba test. Can you just give me something that just fixes everything? It's like, and then comes down and gives it.
Give us 20 years and we'll be there.
I'm still waiting for my hoverboard though from Back to the Future, so I don't know if we will be there. But yeah, I think in terms of this is a long-term strategy. It's not something that we can shift and change overnight. I talk about doing retests with clients depending on the client, 6 to 12 monthly. And yes, I want to see an improvement in those scores in that time frame. But where we're really focusing our attention with those results is actually like diversity of diet, right? And everyone's probably sick of hearing this. Oh my goodness, the diet is so powerful when it comes to, enhancing that microbial environment, but also increasing those scores. So like it is such an important piece of the puzzle. And then the cool thing about the Microba stool analysis is because it gives us a whole list of bacteria, and this is where I love to nerd out. I get like the huge list of the bacteria and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so but every single bacteria that was in your sample that you sent through to the lab, we get a list of that. We get a list. And then it can really tailor my dietary approach to that unique microbiome, which in turn will help to enhance your diversity and your richness scores in your microbiome report. So yeah, wow. Game changing. In terms of like, I just think back to what, like 10 years ago, what we were doing. We were just bombing the microbiome with antimicrobials. And and my clients still laugh when I say this, but I'm like, I liken, giving antimicrobials without doing any foundational gut work to like pushing clients down the stairs. Let's see what happens. We just give you all this stuff and let's just see how the gut responds. And let me tell you, the gut's going to respond pretty poorly if you haven't done the foundational work first. So, yeah, and I suppose that kind of alludes to the rest of the information. I don't know if you want me to continue to rant, Jess, or do you want to step in? On all day,
No, I think what you're really highlighting is obviously the complexities of what these tests give us, right? Like you can't compare, like this is where I just think of that person that has that report back from the doctor and it's just negative for any of those pathogens and like, well, I'm good, I'm fine. But this, what you're just explaining is just like, it's a whole nother level. It's like this deeper layer of like your microbiome health. And up until this point, like no one's looked at that for you. So, and the irony is like, that's where like majority of everything is coming from. So I think it just always blows our mind that and it's unfortunate that so many people go through all of those other factors before they come to us. And then this is where the answers lie.
Yes.
And yeah, there's nothing more exciting too than someone that's been through all of that and just had no answers. And then you get those results back. And finally, yeah, you're showing them these results and they're just overjoyed because they have answers, and you've got someone like yourself so excited about you've got an overgrowth of these bacteria that are producing this gas, and this is why you feel like this, and this is why your bowels are doing that, and you've got this happening with your diversity richness score. And obviously that the area I think that you didn't talk about, but you were probably just alluding to, was all those gut health markers with your inflammatory markers and so forth. But yeah, it's just, it's such a shame that it often isn't done earlier. I think that's what we're so passionate about, because if we could get in front of those people sooner, or develop relationships, which we do have in some aspects, but to have a relationship with GPs and gastroenterologists when that type of client comes through the door, and it isn't something that is an easy fix for them within that 15-minute window, that they're able to go, okay, you need to go down this path. And I think I'd like to think that that will continue to progress, that relationship. I think maybe as the gut is becoming more and more mainstream and the microbiome is becoming more mainstream. I mean, I don't know what you think. I guess with GPs starting to use Microba testing a bit, surely that means the door's opening. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just there's so much room still for growth for those two worlds to come together.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as well, and you alluded to this point at the start of this podcast, is it still goes back to that time factor.
Yeah.
It is great that GPs are now ordering some of this testing, but it's the time factor of then providing the results to the client, but then coming up with a really tangible plan based on those results. And I think because we've been, and I don't even know how long we've been using that Microba stool analysis for now. How it's how many years? I'm just obsessed with it to the point where I just
honestly
never look
since
back.
The start. I don't know when
I'll never look back. And when I have a client that, might come to me with other test results, other stool analysis reports, I'm just looking for all of the information that's in the Microba report. I'm just oh man, I really wish I had. And I'm just maybe we need to later down the track, maybe we need to order this testing instead so I can get more answers. But I think exactly as you said, and even still with the interpretation of the report and then coming up with a tangible plan in terms of based on those results, we're still lacking time in the GP model to be able to do that. And I know with myself, when I'm doing we have an hour with clients, 45 minutes to an hour with clients to talk through test results. And so you're going through the results in detail with the client and showing them the information. But then, after that, we're actually coming up with an individualized plan based on those results. And that takes time. That takes time. I'm going through each individual section of the report, and then, first of all, coming up with priorities, what's the first thing that we need to focus our attention on? And generally speaking, it is those, gut health markers, the inflammatory markers, if they're elevated, because really we need to take control of those markers first before we start trying to do anything else. And then, once we've done that, then I'm looking at the diet. What is the client's current diet like, and how can we improve the diversity? But then also, based on the microbiome, what fiber sources do I want them to increase? What foods does that involve? How am I going to get that into their diet based on what we've spoken about during that consultation, that takes time. Like,
Mm.
it's not a cookie cutter plan.
No.
It's not here, just throw polyphenols at it and hope for the best, like,
Mhm.
no, like, I'm actually providing a list of foods that I want them to increase, and, making that work based on their current diet. And
Yeah.
that just is not able to happen in the medical model in 15
No.
minutes. Like, how could you possibly? Oh my gosh, that would
No.
freak me out. I'm trying to get test results done in 15 minutes, like, so yeah, not gonna
No,
happen.
and I think that's why some of the ones I have seen done, unfortunately, the treatment plans have been a copy and paste of like
Yeah.
what the lab has suggested. That's not a treatment. Like,
No.
it's a suggestion area for things that practitioners should remember as far as relationships with certain types of foods, sources, and supplements. But we know that, as Rochelle was just explaining, it's very, very complex. There's multiple layers, and there might be suggestions in the insights about a particular supplement that actually then is contraindicated with another area that is going on. But the programs don't know this. They just spit out all of these potential suggestions. So yeah, I think the other thing that we do, which, as you said, is very much about time, but also very much about what differentiates us, is how much time we will put into diet and investigating through just diet in general, even outside of your test results. Like, the results are going to be paramount for sure. But as far as like having no answers and being through that kind of more medical model, most likely no one has gone into depth with you about your diet. They might have asked you a few questions. As Rose said earlier, there might have been someone mentioning low FODMAP at a point, but really, again, no one has spent time going through in detail your diet and your habits around your food and how that fits into your day, because it takes time, but also it takes knowledge to understand that. So that is another massive piece of the pie here for us, as far as like guiding you. And in that initial consultation, we may go through that process and look at your diet with those complexities. And through our sort of savvy lens, we might realize that there's a high chance that your gut symptoms are actually 100% about what's going on with your diet, or some other things to do with your diet and how you're consuming through food in stressful environments through the day. There could be all different sorts of factors, and it may be just about changes in your diet that need to be applied before even a test is even required. And I feel like that's another element that it's kind of crazy, isn't it? Like, that it's not really looked into in detail when your gastrointestinal tract major purpose is to digest food that we put in there 3+ times a day, and no one's ever gone in and gone, well, let's actually look at everything that you're putting in here on a daily basis. How do you feel after you eat these foods? What foods? Other simple questions like we would ask: what makes you feel bad when you eat X? Tell me about foods that actually make you feel worse. Are there any things that you consume that make you feel better? Like, you may not know the answer to these questions, but like, you may be able to throw some things at us to that instantly are like a connection for us to all different potential factors that would help us go, oh, right, okay, this could be this potential food intolerance, or okay, this is definitely a red flag that we need to do some deeper testing. So yeah, I feel like the diet's, obviously, as clinical nutritionists, is pretty huge.
It's a big part. And I think as well, like, as part of that process too, and especially, and I'm sure a lot of the people listening, like, if they have experienced chronic gut symptoms, they probably have been spoken to about those high FODMAP foods. And I'm sure you see this as well, Jess. Because those higher FODMAP foods do have a tendency to cause gut symptoms, a lot of clients are not eating those foods. at all.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they've just completely removed them.
Yeah.
And so the other layer of complexity here is, we can get the stool analysis results and have a look at the diet and say, well, we do need to be increasing some of these foods, and they might be higher FODMAPs foods, but we can't go bullet again.
Yeah.
Because if the clients haven't been consuming those foods, we can't then, and this goes for all fiber really, like the last thing we want to do is just bombard the gut with different fiber sources, because it's going to go, well, I don't actually understand what to do with all of this, and freak out. And I like to say wig out. Look, your gut's probably going to wig out, so don't do that. Please don't do that, because like my goal here is to make you feel better, not worse. And you're going to be cursing my name when you eat too much fiber and then your gut starts wigging out. We don't want that. So, and that's another sort of component of that, clinical lens that we have, where we can go, okay, well, this is where we start to prioritize. This is what is the most important. We want to, reduce the inflammatory markers, reduce the reactivity first, because we know if we start, providing this diverse diet and heaps of different fiber sources, and we've still got those inflammatory markers that are, heightened, then things are probably more likely to wig out. So that's the other thing too, isn't it? Like, actually being able to come up with a calculated plan and a timeline for that plan as well. Now, every client is different. Every client is different. But we understand, like with the protocols that we've done over the years, and, the testing as well that we now have, that we've been utilizing for years too, that, there is a way of ensuring that when we start to increase that diversity of diet, if we've done that foundational gut work, if we've worked on some of those markers first, they're less likely to get those gut symptoms as we start to improve the diet. And that again takes time. Like it takes time, and sometimes painfully takes time.
Yeah.
Like, I remember working with Carissa many years ago, and not being able to have any root vegetables. Like, it was so dismal, and we were starting with like teaspoons, and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah, like it just, sometimes, you actually need to go in really low and slow too.
For sure.
Just to really make sure that you're mitigating the impact of, making those symptoms worse as well. Yeah. And so that's where our clinical lens can make such a difference in terms of taking time.
I think you also highlight there about exactly that time factor. Like often when you've gone in with, again, bringing it back to seeing your GP or gastroenterologist, it's very much about what's wrong and also what can we give you to fix this ASAP.
Yeah.
Which is very much our culture. It's just like, what can you give me? What can you do to just fix this? And realistically, again, when we're looking for these answers and finding what's actually going on, when you're truly treating that, it's 99% of the time never a quick fix approach. Like it is that the times that we have given someone like a magic supplement or made a change in their diet that has just been one thing and that's just been all that's needed is very, very minimal. Like there is a timeline here, and that is something we need to respect, but it's also something that makes this process so positive and also so powerful and allows for these really good health outcomes, is because you have someone that is truly working with you to make sure that these changes that are occurring in a really individualized way to suit what's going on in your gut, to suit your lifestyle, and holding your hand throughout whatever that timeline needs to be. And as you said, Ro, like it's really hard for us to put times on this. Like we have times around retesting and so forth, but we could have someone in and out the door in 4 to 6 months. That'd be amazing. And it does happen, but usually, we're getting to know each other over a couple of years. And over those years, we're seeing you progressively for sure getting better, but these things truly to help not only, to shift that underlying core, but also to build and have a really healthy microbiome and robust microbiome long term take time. And that's very, very different to the way the medical model works. And it can be challenging. Like, a lot of us do want the quick fix approach. And of course, we want to see our clients feel better sooner rather than later. And we definitely expect over those timeframes from month to month to see our clients continuing to see improvements. Like, they should be getting better. But we also are very honest with our clients from the start. This is like, don't expect to like just take this one plan and these one or two supplements and that's it, and see you later, you're fixed. Like, you need to be in for a period of time and work with this to truly get to the point where we can have you at like a maintenance level. So I think it's interesting you sort of bring that up, as far as like, I hadn't really thought about it prior, but how just comes back to this time thing, like time within the consult, but also just overall commitment and time to the process.
Yeah,
for sure. Yep.
It does all come back to time, doesn't it?
It does. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. But it excites me that we have got that the testing has evolved to the point, like, and honestly, every time I open a Microba report, I am fascinated. Like, I just, even though we've been working with this reporting for a couple of years now, like, and I suppose it also brings to attention to the reason why I don't guess what's happening with my clients, why it's so important to functionally test the gut, because I am surprised when I get results sometimes and go, oh wow, I honestly, like, I thought that I knew what was going on and that I would get results, and I'd be like, well, I didn't realize that that was going to be, and so, having tangible answers for clients is really important. Absolutely. But also in terms of, our treatment plan, it's really important as well. But it's really exciting too, to be able to have testing where we can really hone in on the diet and really utilize the diet as a therapeutic tool. Like, that is just so exciting to me. Like, obviously, we're nutritionists, so we love food, and we also like want to use food as medicine. That's one of the reasons why I got into this industry. But actually having a tool like the Microba testing to give us that information to be able to tailor the diet specifically to that client is such an important point of difference from the testing that GPs and gastroenterologists can do in comparison to what we can do. Like, it is a really exciting point of difference. And then when you do a retest, and I've done a couple of retests recently, and I'm just like so proud. I am so proud of my clients, like so proud of my clients, because it's like I understand how hard, like, I've been there, right? I've been there. I've been in the trenches for years and years and years. And then, seeing those diversity and richness scores improve, and you're just like, yes.
Oh, it's the best.
Seeing some of those metabolites reduce that might have potentially been causing those symptoms, seeing them reduce and be back in range, and not overgrown anymore, and seeing those inflammatory markers come down, you're just like, oh my gosh, yes, it's so amazing. The retesting component is quite important too. I think it is a really nice way of, well, there's a few reasons. First of all, understanding like what's happening with the microbiome at that point in time after we've done the treatment plan, but also showing clients how incredible they've done. Like, it is like showing those diversity scores, showing those richness scores, saying, this is a testament to the dietary changes you've made. And yes, it's been tough, but look at these results, like it actually is, it obviously makes me very excited. Because, like, we can actually show the work that we've done on the gut and the results based on that work and based on the diet as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
it's
cool.
so empowering for clients to see that. And
Yeah.
there's nothing better than, as a practitioner, being able to like present that to your
I
client and being
know.
able to like go, look at what you've done.
Yes. Yes.
And
And
just to
like,
see.
sorry, Jess.
No, you
And
go.
like obviously, a reduction in symptoms and clients being able to consume a more diverse diet is giving us some information in terms of like
Mhm.
things are improving. But to actually have the comparison between the two is like so cool. Like so cool to see.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
and just going, oh wow, like this is the impact we've made over this time frame, and these are the results, and this is what the previous results were. Like that's it's a really amazing tool, and it's great. Love it.
Yeah, so true. Well, I think that gives people a good idea as far as
Hmm.
those next steps that we have. So I'm hoping that listeners, if they are in that, I guess, arena of feeling a little bit lost as to where to go next, or they know someone that's in that space, because we know how common it is, that it gives them some really good hope that there are a multitude of options that are out there. And it really is taking that next step and realizing that there's a whole nother world to investigate
Yeah.
here, literally within you,
Yeah.
that most likely is where the answers lie. I should also briefly mention, like, we've spoken very heavily about this one particular test today, which is probably the cornerstone testing that we do in the
Yes.
clinic. But there are other types of functional testing
Yeah.
that we would consider as well if they were needed. But that being said, really what we're showing is that there is a whole nother layer of exploration that is there as an option, and we just get so excited about making that a known, because so many people don't realize, and that are walking around just thinking, oh, this is just how I have to live, this is just me, the doctors have told me this is just my IBS, or I just have to manage my stress, and I don't know, we've heard all sorts of different feedbacks there, and it just, it's frustrating to us because we want everyone to feel really, really well, and we know that we have these tools. And I think the other thing we've highlighted today, which I hadn't really thought about in such detail, was how much time is a big component here. And I know even for myself, like when I think about the times that I have gone into a doctor or different types of appointments, there's always this sense of urgency and feeling rushed, and you kind of leave and you just like, oh, I feel like I didn't even touch the surface of like what my concerns are. And that time that you have through this process, and the time that we give as a practitioner, and that relationship that you have, even right through to that retesting and that person feeling amazing, is just a beautiful thing, but very, very important. But that all being said, is there anything you wanted to add before we finish up?
No, I think we've covered it. Yeah, I can't think of anything anyway. I'm sure I'll think of something later.
I know,
Like,
I
wish
keep
I mentioned
going and
that.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, we could talk about this for hours for sure.
If you are someone, as I said, that has listened and you're like, this is so what I need, obviously reach out to us at the clinic. Roshelle also offers the gut health nutrition package at the clinic, which is all about this. So it is absolutely a perfect package that has quite a few consultations all bundled together, and you're obviously working with someone who is, I don't even know the level of passion. It is high with respect to gut health. So Ro is just like the most amazing person to guide you through this. And part of that would be looking at the appropriate testing for you. And it's just a good way to get started. All of our packages are offered at a bit more of a discounted rate too. But if you've got any questions about that, absolutely reach out to us or slide on into Rochelle's DMs. I'm sure she'd be happy to help.
Love to.
Yes. But as always, thank you so much for listening. And if you found this episode super helpful and beneficial, we'd love you to take the time to leave us a review or even share it on your socials. But thanks so much for listening. And Rochelle will be back, I'm sure,
Yes.
before you know it, in your ears with me. But we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.